Right on, Bry. Well, stick around after this best of five between Drumboardist and Governatore because we'll have another match tonight. We got a double header, and that one will be featuring Ferran Burgundy against Lucha. And that is a elimination match on the lower half of the bracket. Winner advances, the loser is eliminated. And if that's not enough for you, we've got a four pack tomorrow night, Thursday. We've got opening up Chex 42 versus Lick Arcade. Following that, we have 40 Watt versus Drex. Afterwards, we have Aries Fire Tiger versus Seawalker. And to finish out tomorrow's four races, Mr. Entity versus Prince Leaf. Lot of Smash TV action coming in the next couple of days. Make sure you tune in to GG Speedruns and catch all of that total carnage.
Oh, it's going to be pretty great. That'll finish out all the round one matches. And then Saturday, probably looking to get a bunch more scheduled. So clear it up and get ready to go. I figure we are going to try to match or possibly even outdo the last Saturday where we had a lot of matches, dependent on our restreamer, Mr. Dino, of course, who is generously restreaming every single match here on GG underscore speedruns. Very nice of him to do that. Both racers are ready. I'm going to give him the countdown. Jackamus, make your match prediction. It's going to be an interesting one, I would wager.
Well, Brian, Governadore's gotten off to a real good start in their Smash TV career. Drummy, always a veteran, always a threat in these tournaments, and at some point before it's all said and done, he'll get his yearly PB. I am going to say Drumboardist will take this one, but it's going to be quite close, and it's going to go the distance. We're going to see a five-gamer here.
And we have Governor underway, Drumboardist underway. Slight discrepancy here. I'm sure that'll be fixed up in a moment. And indeed, as I say it, Mr. Dino right on top of it. And Jackamus, what do we... Both appear to have gotten the Razor Shield and are underway. What are they trying to avoid here, Jack? What's the bad thing to do in this room?
Well, getting grenades is probably the absolute worst thing, as that will tank your range, as you can see Governator just trying to dance around that unwanted pickup in the center of the room.
And due to that grenade being in the way, a little less efficient on the fire. We have a 41 for Drumboardist. Governator's more like a 44, so about a 3-second lead. But that doesn't mean a lot. This first drop means a ton.
Absolutely. The room is called Collect Power-Ups, and there's a couple power-ups in particular we're looking for. That invulnerability for Drummy is not one of them, Bry.
It's an okay drop if you have a foot coming in, but otherwise not that useful. Both are hunting an orb or rockets here, and as you see, Drumboardist using that foot invulnerability combo, taking out a few enemies, not terrible.
Yeah, if you have both, you can at least get some work done by moving quickly to the door with the biggest group and let your invulnerability take care of them while you're shooting elsewhere. Still, far better to have an orb or rockets or even a spreader, as we saw Governator use a moment ago.
Another spreader there for Governator after ignoring a nuke. As you can see, neither one getting an advantage here. It'll be Drumboardist out at 138. Actually, look at that. It's mere milliseconds of difference.
Pretty close race here so far, Bry, but I think we were expecting it to be close between these two.
But not because of bad RNG, just because of skill levels. And the first orb drops to Governator, also with that rocket, able to control the room quite easily here.
Yep, that's pretty much a dream setup for Eat My Shrapnel. If you got the orb, it's really easy to not lose any time in the room, and more rockets for Governator, so he's firmly under control here. Drum has a little bit of work to get this thing going here, doing his job hold and serve, but the game just isn't giving him any drops to get out of here reasonably.
Governator will be out in a high 221. Drum, just at the tail end, lost control of the shrapnels. Loses about 5 seconds in the room, but the time can be really bad if the power-ups don't improve in quality.
Drum needs an orb yesterday, Bry, and there's an orb for Drum finally.
Apologies, my internet dipped out for a second there. I'm assuming that orb pickup was nice and well done by Drum. Both taking control, and his Governator's now down an orb, I see.
Yeah, unfortunate loss there. Time for Drum to gain some of that time back. Rockets for Drum, and Drum patient with the Rockets, trying to maximize their damage. And now a Razor Shield and more Rockets. The Vitamin R flowing for Drum inside Total Carnage, Bry.
Oh, that Malk is definitely paying off. And meanwhile, Governor seems to have hit the dry spell now on the drops. A double shrapnel explosion avoids it all. Desperately hoping there's going to be something good coming up next.
Sad thing is, this is not a room you want to dry spell in. Drum loses the orb and nearly walks into a shrapnel piece there.
Both players having a few issues, but as you can see, Drumboardist making great use of those drops. Is going to be out of the room first. Once that shrapnel dies, it'll be a 337 into the bonus room. Governor gets a double shrapnel explosion. That might have been to his advantage with only the pea shooter.
Right you are, Bry. It would take over a second each to kill the Shrappies. They take 8 shots from the pea shooter, and that's over a second of continuous fire.
And for anyone in chat, you think I'm going to sing Taco Bell, Taco Bell, you've mistaken me for 40 watts. So let's just enjoy the product placement with Taco Bell. Into tank trouble we go, Jack. First drop is huge.
Well, it's not an awful drop, it's an invulnerability, so you can at least get rid of the turrets right up, but you're not doing any damage to the swarmers in the meantime.
Governor got a dude! Extra lives, eh. But hey, that
rockets for Governor, if he can get them, those are the dream pickup in this room.
Gets it done. An orb for Drummy. Can he get to the middle and keep it? Pretty solid movement, but just gets clipped at the end. And that Razor Shield with that orb would have been mammoth.
Drum's so close to having a really nice setup in the center there, but just having his orb clipped by that purple grunt right at the last possible frame, it seemed.
Governor with an orb now holding the middle very solidly here as Drum used a nuke and is now trying to get to some rockets.
Drummy's going to get those rockets and just going to keep firing continuously. Spawn rate really, really high in tank trouble, as always. Just keep shooting. Don't ever stop.
And look at this. It's pretty much going to be a dead heat in the Mutoid Man's room. Maybe a second difference here, guys. It is all going to come down to who executes better or who gets that God RNG.
Well, for Governor, there's a small advantage having a few rockets at the start. Might be able to get a gunner out quickly, but looks like the clip was basically empty. Governator's going to get a lobber to start out with. There's a spreader on the second player side of the room, so unable to use a death manipulation in order to get an invulnerability.
Lands a few manip shots, nothing too huge here, but does pop the first arm, so slight lead to Governor, but these lobbers for Drum should allow him to keep pace. Great grab there along the tank treads.
That was a real close one there. That's the experience showing. Drummy, a veteran of 5 tournaments right now.
One thing that happened was back in January, there was a Battle Royale, a Royal Rumble, if you will, for this game on Easy Percent. And Drum put in a lot of work before having to withdraw. It's kind of showing here, I think, just how much work he was putting in.
Absolutely, Bry. Drum is playing really, really well here. Drops haven't been too great for him throughout this first match, though. But he's going to take the lead on a beautiful manual spreader, getting over a form of damage off of that.
He was able to get a few shots before that grenade showed up and really blocked him with Mutoid Man's positioning. Another spreader on the wrong side, and I know Jacobus, a Player 2 user, would really like to see people just use it more, clearly.
Oh, I'd be salivating at those drops, Bry. Drummy goes for another manual, gets run over, but landed a good amount of those 27 damage shots. Chest is going to pop for Governor. Empty drop for Drummy. Now some rockets. And a lobber for Governor, trying desperately to catch up here.
Great decision by Drumboardist. Get rid of the rockets, get that lobber, and of course a good spreader shows up on the final form. Well done, game.
And Drummy, I think, making the right call to keep using the lobber. It's much better DPS against the final form than the spreader is.
Lobber now for Drumboardist. Could be enough if he lands most of the shots. Final form Governor needs a better weapon, though.
Oh, Drummy gets zapped. It's not over yet. Spreader for Governor. Lobber for Drummy. That'll be enough ammo for Drummy, and looks like Drummy's going to take it, Bry.
He is going to take it. That spreader wasn't going to be enough for Governor anyway, but this lobber should be a close opening match, and not that far apart, maybe 10 seconds. Wow, what a start here.
Well, we were predicting a close match between these two, and so far it's lived up to that. A difference of, you called it, Bri, just about 10 seconds in game number 1.
Indeed, what an opening bout here we have for you. Drumboardist the veteran taking race number 1. Both players went through large dry spells of drops. And when it was more or less even, the slight edge to Drumboard is probably based on experience, but we have another race coming up here. Can Governatore tie it up? Will Drumboardist take a chokehold 2-0 lead? The PBs are close. The race was close. I expect the same thing coming at you.
Well, while they both set up their respective manips here, before we start game number 2, we're just going to have to wait for that.
Absolutely. And meanwhile, while we wait, thank you very much to Retrofile TV for the raid during that opening salvo. The action was so fast and furious, we couldn't give you thanks. Appreciate it here at GG_speedruns. With that said, guys, let's get ready. They're ready. I'm going to get them off here. And remember, a 4-pack of action coming tomorrow. And we have a second race right after this one coming up with Lucha Jim and Ferran Burgundy in an elimination match.
Oh, yeah, we're only getting started here tonight on GG Speedruns. Lots of televisions remain to be smashed. Lots of prizes to be won. Stick around.
I've given them to get underway. And hey, guys, make your prediction. I see we've got something in the chat here, in the channel, to make your prediction. So get it in now before it's out. Win some channel points. Gamble some channel points. Here we go, Jack. They've both probably got the setup, so it should be an opening razor shield. And then they just want to avoid those grenades and nukes at all costs.
Well, if you're really good on timing the nuke as a third drop, you can end the room with it, assuming your shooting's been fairly optimal. But sometimes it's not necessarily worth the risk, because you will lose about 4 seconds if you mistime the nuke at the end of the room.
But there is a way to predict it. Do it with the score. We know the minimum score coming out of the room is 52,000. So, for example, Drumboardist could have possibly used it there and got himself out a smidge earlier. Doesn't make the run, doesn't kill you if you get it wrong, but it is nice to get that little advantage. 43 versus 45 here, Jack. Maybe the drops will be better in collect power-ups, so they can collect power-ups.
I certainly hope so, Bri. I would hate to see them both leave the room at about $1.37 again.
Razor Shield versus an invulnerability, slight advantage Governatore, and then a spreader for Governatore. Good start.
Grenades for Drummy. Drummy not liking these drops early on in the arena so far tonight.
And there's two general thoughts, philosophical thoughts. Either avoid the bad ones and just wait, or just grab every power-up and chase the better ones. They both are valid, I have to say.
They're both valid strategies. It all depends on what Lady Luck has in store for our runners. As you choose to grab every power-up, well, you might not be with something that's particularly helpful for a while if the game keeps throwing it at you.
It's about a 3-second lead for Governatore here in Eat My Shrapnel. 18 shrapnel to kill, 4 in the room to start. Only a max of 4 allowed, so you have to keep them under control while killing the swarmers. Very difficult if you're not getting good power-ups, as our current players can attest to.
Absolutely, Bra. You see Drummy focusing almost exclusively on the Shraps. He's just got the pea shooter and some invulnerabilities. Orb for Governatore. That's a huge pickup. Orb for Drummy.
How about that?
Keep it even, keep it close. That's what we like to see here at GG Speedruns.
This spreader is going to do great work killing most of those shrapnels on the left side. That kind of lined up nicely for Drum. And it looks like he hasn't really lost any ground, so well done there.
Yeah, held his serve. Early Razor Shield for Governatore. That's a fantastic first drop in Total Carnage with Orb in tow.
Dudes are not a good drop ever game, and they give them to both of them at the same time.
About the only time you'd like to see a dude, Bri, is if you're playing normal and you're not confident in your ability to clear the game.
And I gotta say, that drop of an orb for Drumboardist looked disastrous, but back-to-back rockets keeping him in there, and another orb!
And Drummy playing the angle of the orb correctly there. It always starts up and to the right of where you're at, and Drummy, knowing that, was able to move into a place where he'd be able to keep it.
Both racers now dropping their orb about the same time. It's all going to come down to who can just clear out the room a little quicker. Another Razor Shield for Governatore. That's fantastic.
Razor Shield, a huge boon. Nuke, not a bad drop either for Drummy when you have nothing else going on.
And it's always good to clean out those shrapnels, especially as the room gets into the twilight of its existence in the race. And as you can see, Governatore will lead into the bonus room with a 3:28. Oh, Drumboardist almost got clubbed. Oh, he almost runs into that shrapnel. Oh, that was close.
Dire moments for Drummy, but you got to go fast. It is a race after all.
He lost a little bit of time there, but only about a second and a half. He's less than 5 behind. And bust out your Taco Bell and get ready as we head into tank trouble. May the rockets and razors, invulnerabilities, nukes, the whole 9 get flowing here. First drop Governatore, a grenade. And I think he was going to go for it, but he walks into a bullet.
Yeah, but those bullets have deceptively large hitboxes. It looks like they can just, maybe not quite graze you, but it will count as a hit. There's an orb for Drummy. It's going to be a little tricky to sneak in there.
With that invulnerability, he could walk right over the mine. That made it a lot simpler. He's got to get to that nuke and start cleaning out these gunners. Meanwhile, Governatore gets shot. There goes one gunner for Drumboardist. Both gunners are gone for Governatore. And there's rockets now for Drummy.
Here we go. Late game drops for Drummy again, much like last race, getting lots of stuff really good inside a tank trouble. Loses his orb and then gets shrapnelled.
Now we have an orb and a spreader combo for Governatore, who's holding the middle at the moment, looking pretty good. Rockets for Drumboardist. This is going to be pretty close. Exit. More rockets here for Drum.
Rockets, unquestionably the best drop in the room. If you're seeing this many rockets, you should be out in a pretty reasonable amount of time, as long as you can stay in that center.
That shrapnel explodes, not a huge deal. The second one gets taken down, and a bit of an issue here. Governatore
gets tagged at the end of the room and has to take the long walk of shame to the next door.
Jack, would you say that's another reason to use player 2?
I wouldn't necessarily put it as a con against choosing player 2, but dying at the end of a room is typically not something you would want to have happen to you ever.
Governatore just discovered something a lot of players are horrified to find out. There's no hitbox on Mutoid Man right away, and he just walked right inside him, and he wasn't shooting those gunners.
Yes, exactly. The hitbox from Mutoid isn't loaded in the game until he's about 3/4 of the way outside of that big hole at the top of the arena.
These drops have been pretty so far, but early advantage Governatore. He's taken the lead. He's getting right back in the match, I should say. Another empty drop for Drumboardist. A lot of shields right now.
And now a foot for Drummy. We need weapons game. Governatore with a risky rocket grab there almost gets electrocuted.
Takes the lead by doing so, though, as the lobbers are now out in force for our players. Second arm should be coming off for Drummy any second here, and there it goes. Same form, but the lead is definitely Governatore's at the moment.
Governatore making some really good lobber shots there, really pounding it into Mutoid's neck. That's the sweet spot for lobbers.
Drum takes a laser shot, but does get a lobber out of the process and is about a form behind right now.
Full form it looks like, yes. Empty drop for Governatore, though. Drum unable to get to those grenades. Oh, there's the spreader for Drum.
He waited too long to die.
He's just going to grab it and go for it.
He saw it, thought about it, and then decided to not die because of time worries. He got a good bout there at the end, though. Final form.
Yeah, really good manual from Drum, but the final form for Governatore as well. This is going to be another really, really close match.
Very much so, and it's all going to go down who can land these hard-to-land lobber shots with the radically moving Mutoid here, and it appears to be Drumboardist.
Yeah, Drum's got it. Drum is going to take game number 2 by much.
Governatore dies there at the end. Won't cost him any time this time. He's still got to wait for Mutoid to explode. 723 versus about a 729. Crazy.
Very, very close. Even closer than last race, Bri. But you have to hand it to Drummy there. He was a full form behind, and then that brilliant manual spreader against the penultimate form pulled him ahead, and he's able to steal this one in the waning moments.
Unbelievable opening 2, but Drumboardist goes up 2-0 here, guys. The veteran just getting that little bit extra in right now, showing that savvy and That practice from earlier in the year really paying off.
Absolutely, Bry. But let's not count Governor out yet. It's not as if Drummy has won these two matches by much. I would expect Governor to at least take this one. I think a sweep is still pretty unlikely.
I've got to say that the PB is slightly better on Governator's side, so the possibility is there for a much lower time for both of them, really. I mean, sub 7 for either one on a race here is not out of the question. Both are going to be
Absolutely
ready,
not.
Jack, and I'm going to get them ready. I'm with you. I think we're going to be going to a race number 4.
Yeah, I think so too, Bry. Governor hasn't really seen any spreaders in the Mutoid Man room yet, whereas Drummy had a pretty nice manual in game 1 and a really good manual in game number 2.
I mean, the TSN turning point, as it were, in that matchup, that race rather, was Drumboardist got a really good manual to get that final form change, and that carried over damage might have been the difference.
It most likely was. It was really good. That's probably worth considering for our top moments, at least so far.
Absolutely. And to remind anybody and everybody, you see something you think is a top moment, be sure to clip it, drop it in chat, drop it in the top 10 moment suggestions on the Discord for this tournament. We're underway here, Jack, and Governor wisely avoiding that nuke.
Yeah, Nuke not in a too frustrating position. Does cut off the diagonal angle if you want to camp the right door. But some really good firing from Governor is going to get him out of here just a tad ahead of Drummy, looks like.
Well, there's a slight discrepancy in time. It's a high 40. It is still indeed a bit of a lead, about a 1 second difference here. Governor with the lead. Let's see if the drops will finally help our runners get off on the right foot.
We still haven't seen a single orb between either player inside collect power-ups as of yet. First drop rockets for Governor is nice.
Very nice stuff here for both. You love to see it.
Yeah, you'll love to see it. You really would be happier to see an orb, though.
Drumboardist unable to reach that foot. I may be forgetting with the Razor Shield, you can't reach the wall.
It wasn't right up against the wall. Maybe he thought that it was just barely obtainable, but unfortunately, no. Bit of sabotage for Governor, some grenades. Late rockets for Drummy means he's going to get out of here. Pretty robust time.
He almost got clubbed there trying to finish off the shrapnel with the rockets. That was lucky.
But just compare their exit times of that room in this race compared to the first two. You can see what a difference a single rocket pickup makes. Both of them exiting the room about 10 seconds faster than the previous two races.
Absolutely, and a Razor Shield here for Governor. That'll help control the swarmers. Just got to get the shrapnels under control. Trying to make use of every bit here, including the Razor Shield, as Drumboardist has the room under control right now.
Yeah, Drummy getting enough spreaders to keep it going. Really would like to see an orb before the next room. Rockets mean that the rest of the room is pretty much free for Drumboardist.
This is nuts. We haven't seen an orb yet. Unbelievable.
No, orbless, but Drummy's going to get out into Total Carnage first at about 2:11, and so about a 7-second lead right now for Drumboardist here in game number 3.
Despite the fact he gave up some rockets there, I kind of like this move by Drumboardist. You're having trouble getting control initially. That spreader might be better for getting rid of the swarmers.
Yeah, especially the way that this room starts off where you're just completely surrounded by them. There's an orb for Drummy, and now some rockets.
And we have an orb and a Razor Shield on Governor's side, so both getting luck at the same time here. Who can hold it down?
That is going to be the big question here. Drummy lets him get too close and loses the orb. Huge chance for Governor to get caught back up here. The game has mercy, gives Drummy an orb, and Drummy decides, no, I don't want that orb.
How is this guy not hitting Drumboardist? Somebody clip that. He walked through a swinging enemy 4 times and didn't die.
That was impressive. Another orb for Drummy and another orb loss. Unfortunate death for Governor.
And Governor
at the end of the room, take the smart bomb, Drummy, and he does.
Nuke to finish the roof.
Yeah, good time for a nuke right there, and almost entering in sync. We are inside the bonus room for some presents, some lawnmowers, some VHS tapes. Unfortunately, no year's supply of good meat. That's not until later in the game.
It's about a 4-second lead here for Drumboardist by timer. Let's see. With those rockets in hand, Governor should be in good shape to start the room out.
Oh yeah, huge amount of rockets left in that clip. Those turrets stood no chance.
Drummy does a good job, though, of using what he was given and gets rid of the gunners pretty quickly. And more rockets now for Governor.
Yeah, more rockets for Governor. You can see the inexperience
More
showing a bit with the
rockets!
rocket fire, though. Using a lot of diagonal fire rather than focusing directly on the doors is Governor so far.
Good use of the nuke by Governor. Always a good grab here. Drumboardist dies. This is definitely the Governor's advantage. Probably taking the lead. Look at that. The swarmers are definitely thinning out here. And may have, no, I was going to say may have killed enough, but no, there's a tank. I was wondering if the spawn count was done for them.
No, not quite as of yet. That tank allowed to infiltrate the center of the room for Governor. Dodging everything, gets tagged by a shrapnel. And rockets now for Drum.
And despite all that early advantage, another good nuke
Another
by
nuke
Drum.
ending for Drummy. Wow.
It's about a 5-second lead here. It's swung back to Drumboardist. It'll come down again to Mutoid Man. Who can play it better? Who's going to get the luck? Let's see.
Well, Governor does have a few
This
shots.
could be the Drumboardist advantage.
First drop for Drummy is a spreader in a good location.
A little too low on the body. He's not dealing the damage. He was too low on the body for a
too
lot
low.
of
Yeah. Another. That was. Did Drummy just get 2 weapon drops in a row, or did I look at that incorrectly? Like almost simultaneously.
Unfortunately, I had an internet issue, so I couldn't tell you. But either way, Drumboardist, early lead, not using the bank here. Those shots weren't very effective, and now he gets an empty drop.
Yeah, empty drop slowing him down a bit. Rocket's not the ideal weapon early on in this fight, or really at all. Couple of lobbers for Governor is going to get that arm popped. Grenades better than rockets, at least slightly better damage per second. Lobber now for Drummy, pounding it into that sweet spot. I imagine the chest will pop. There it goes. Lobber for Governor as well, and his chest is popped too. This is close.
Very close. More rockets for Drumboardist. That is just such slow damage per second. You hate to see that when you're playing. But it gets the head pop first, still in the lead. Governor, meanwhile, pounding away, takes a shrapnel hit.
Oh, must not have seen it passing through Mutoid Man's body, so huge chance for Drummy to put this thing away here.
Head pop
Both
for
on the penultimate form, but these grenades should get Drummy to the final form. Grenades for Governor, and he walks into the treads. No!
It actually maybe saved him some time, honestly. He got to that pretty quick. He's got a spreader. Does he recognize it? Oh, he was looking to die. He could have used it a little bit with that invulnerability. He needs the transfer damage, and he goes down. That might be it.
That might be it. Drummy, this spreader should finish it off unless Drummy gets run over or something here.
Did you see those back-to-back spreader drops that were, like, perfect for Drumboardist if it wasn't the final form? Come on, game.
And it looks like Drum is going to seal this thing in 3 games. Governor looking a little shaky at the end of this round. Maybe nerves getting to him knowing that he's down 2 games to none.
It could just be inexperienced as well. That spreader with that waning invulnerability, you don't have time to take the death and still get it, but you could use a little bit of that invulnerability to get a few seconds of good spreader damage off. So
should at least be able to get a third of a form comfortably there, yes. But, that's just what experience will teach you. If you play the game, you can identify those situations just instantly and react to them.
Crazy opening match here. 3-0. Seems like, oh, well, Drumboardist, the veteran, really took it to Governor, but close matches the whole way right up to that 3rd Mutoid Man fight. So with that said, this match is over with, but coming up next, Lucha Jim versus Ferran Burgundy. And we are looking forward to that. It's our first elimination match. Let's see what these two have in store.